Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major update today about Fauci that you do not want to miss. We are seeing the truth getting exposed, and we have a lot of major updates today about Fauci that you do not want to miss. So we're going to dive into this, but before we do, we're going to read scripture and pray because God comes first. Amen? Comment amen if you believe that. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Amen. Remember, my brothers and sisters, that God is with you, whether you realize it or not. Everywhere you go, He is with you. Amen. All right, guys, this is Fauci getting exposed by Josh Hawley. So let's tune in, guys.
Dear Diary, they have my phone. Days after his diary leaked, Ron Johnson got a copy of the Fauchmeister's cell. Every text, every email, every meme, every video, every voicemail, every LOL. This is going to be good. But relax, the doc says. Autopen gave me the golden pardon, remember? I'm bulletproof. No. The pardon stops federal prosecutions. State charges aren't covered. So that phone could land on the desk of every red state attorney general in the country. And it's all admissible. 17 states are already circling. Florida's even got a subpoena out. They're following the money. They say Fauci cashed in and, book deals, awards, grants. And now it's official. Rand Paul's committee voted to hold Tony Fauci in contempt for stonewalling the Senate, taking the fifth over 100 times. And once you got a pardon, the fifth doesn't apply. You can't incriminate yourself for crimes you can't be charged for. So hiding behind the fifth isn't a right, it's obstruction.
That's really interesting. I didn't really know that you couldn't plead the fifth, and quite frankly, it's kind of crazy that his own team didn't know that.
As far as pleading the fifth when you have a pardon, all you have to do is tell the truth, just not commit a new crime. But if we were to grant him immunity from telling the truth, of what value, would his testimony be? So I think the American people do deserve to know this.
What's a fully pardoned man so afraid to say? All Anthony had to do was tell the truth, but he took the fifth anyway. So today, the referral went...
Also, if you were pardoned, aren't you safe? I don't get how he could even get in trouble.
Straight to the DOJ, DC division. Guess whose desk it landed on? The judge. You really think Judge Janine lets Tony walk? Even CNN's like, yeah, the little guy's cooked.
This is real. I mean, the stakes here for Dr. Fauci could potentially be, depending what DOJ decides, a criminal indictment and prosecution.
Now, the referral isn't a conviction. The DOJ still has to take it to a grand jury and get an indictment. And Democrats insist the fifth still protects him. Now, if convicted, fines and up to a year in prison.
Oh, what? Are you serious?
But for a guy who was supposed to be untouchable, the walls feel like they're closing in. Because it's not just Washington circling now, it's everybody. The country's done taking Tony's word for it. And obviously, this was never just about a diary or a phone. Does he even care? Well, Fauci was seen taking out the trash today at his $2.5 million D.C. home, and he sped away with his wife. He let her drive, and she took one hand off the wheel to give the finger to reporters.
No way. Fauci's wife flipped them off? Oh my gosh. Even Fauci... Wow. Who's Fauci's wife? That should be looked into as well.
A lot of people trusted Tony. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley joins us now. Not a good look, flipping the bird to the press.
No, but that's basically what he did to the whole country right there, Jesse. He did it last week when he showed up, claimed the fifth 111 times. And you're exactly right. When you have immunity, he already had that Autopen pardon. He has immunity. You can't come in and take the fifth. He took it so many times, I started calling him Dr. Fifth. It is an absolute joke. This guy needs to be charged. We sent over a referral today to the Department of Justice. He can spend a year in prison for contempt of Congress. I hope they go after him hard.
And the Senate has the phone, right?
The Senate has his phone. This is the phone that he used for years, we believe, as the director of the NIAID, which is the position he held during COVID. I understand we're in the process of downloading its contents right now. I can't wait to see what's on it, Jesse. I mean, we learned so much from that last trove of documents. We learned that he got all of those cash prizes, $1 million for himself during COVID. That was illegal, by the way. I can't wait to see what we're going to find out from this phone.
And the Florida AG is looking into some of these awards. He was grabbing cash awards while he was telling Florida to shut down and do this and that.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. The law prohibits a federal employee from soliciting cash prizes. It says you can't go use your employees to solicit cash prizes. You can't use your office, your email. Fauci was doing all of it. Was he even focused on COVID during COVID? No way. He was focused on himself. He was focused on getting rich. And Jesse, he got over $1 million in cash prizes in the span of like 2 years. He's the highest paid federal employee ever. His pension is worth $500,000.
He's the highest paid federal employee ever? That in itself should be a red flag. Honestly, how much money did he get? That's my question.
A year, net worth right now north of $12 million. It's a total scam.
$12 million? He should donate some of that money, right? Wasn't there somebody who says, oh, we need to tax the hell out of millionaires? Well, what about Fauci?
North of 12, and he's got a $2.5 million home in Georgetown. It's not too bad for a government salary. Wasn't he like the highest paid employee in the government?
$2.5 million home while the rest of us are living like peasants? Give me a break, Fauci. Donate your money now. Sell your home. Go live in an apartment. Come on.
The highest paid employee in the government ever, makes more than the president ever did. His pension every single year right now, Jesse, government pension is $500,000 a year.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay taxes on the pension, right?
He has got a sweetheart deal. He needs to be prosecuted.
Okay.
He doesn't even have to pay taxes? Are you serious? What the heck? Why is he getting away with all this, guys?
A lot of other action in the White House today. It does look like the president is not going to take the Supreme Court decision on birthright citizenship laying down. He has a new executive order, unleashed. Listen.
The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, but the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned.
So birth tourism is already illegal. This new executive order really just tightens the screws, right?
It's going to put teeth into it, and I'm glad he's doing it, Jesse. We need to put a stop to this. This is not what the Constitution permits. This is not what any constitutional provision was written to allow, and I think the president was 100% right to go after this today.
Because the Chinese have totally weaponized our Constitution against us. I mean, they're coming here, they go to these baby bills, they come back with paperwork, and then their son could vote, he could be on the board of a company, steal secrets. I mean, all hell breaks loose at that point.
And, you know, Justice Thomas, I thought, made this point very powerfully in that Supreme Court case. He recounted the history, the Civil War history, the Reconstructionary history of these amendments. This is not what those amendments were written to address, not even close. This is a huge abuse of our system. The president's right to go after it.
Right, but the Democrats still want to pack the court, don't they, Senator? They're never satisfied.
Yeah, that's right. That's... Never, ever. If you stand in their way, they will burn you to the ground, which is why we've got to defend the court and we've got to stand up for the Constitution like the president's doing.
All right. Well, big midterm elections around the corner. We'll see what happens. Thank you so much.
Whoa. So that's huge, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something.
Josh Hawley really laid it in and made Dr. Fauci a meme from this.
What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more. Brown versus Walker, 18...
Yeah, that strategy ain't doing much for you, butter boy. How did he not know that? Come on. He's paying his lawyers for what?
96. When he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyer is sitting behind you now, shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you?
Oh! Calling him out to his face in front of the world. Holy moly.
You got rich. While people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you?
Oh my goodness. That is a alley-oop slam dunk.
That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the
advice of counsel, I respectfully
Shut up, buddy boy. You can't do that. Hawley just told you.
Decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon...
He just said you can't do that. Why do you keep doing that, Fauci?
My rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
She was your personal assistant. And what were these individuals...
Laura Ingraham looks like a robot back there. She's like, ooh.
...doing in the depth of the pandemic in November of 2020, when millions of Americans were suffering from COVID, what were they doing? I tell you what they're doing. Folkers was on your behalf... soliciting and gathering information for a cash award. Let's look at it. We've got his email right here, right over my shoulder. Volker says, I'm working on this nomination for the Dan David Award for Fauci. We need to beef up the COVID part. Do you have language in the can that you could share that delineates how we responded in new ways to COVID? He sends this to multiple federal employees. What was the Dan David Award? Do you remember, Doc?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
This is way worse than I thought, guys. This is way worse. I didn't know that there was so much money being moved around with him directly.
It was a $900,000 cash award. $900,000 cash award. And he got it. Because he used federal employees to get it. And this wasn't the only award, was it, Dr. Fauci? In fact, you applied for and received at least 8 other federal cash prizes on federal time using federal employees and federal resources. Here they are over my shoulder. Besides the Dan David Award, you've got the Partnership for Public Service, you've got the Adelson Prize, you've got the Smithsonian Award, you've got the National Academy of Medicine's Award, you've got the CDC Foundation. In fact, you turned your staff into a full-time application machine. You actually wrote to people and said, do you think maybe I'd qualify? And you got cash for all of this.
What? How is that legal? Like, you know how many people were suffering? How many people are still suffering? You know, if you put $900,000 in the stock market, by then it would at this point in time, it would be worth well over $1 million. So it's like, dude, come on.
And it wasn't just 1 or 2 employees, was it? In fact, you used 8 separate federal employees on federal time using federal resources to solicit cash awards. Isn't that true?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Here they are right over my shoulder. Here's all of them. The people that you use, federal employees, so that you could go and get...
You know, he's also not denying anything. You got to remember that too, right? He never said no, that didn't happen, right? This is very eerie because we haven't really seen somebody invoke the Fifth Amendment like this in such a way, especially when, you know, there's a pardon, so he's not even supposed to be doing that.
Cash money. And the most hilarious part is that you weren't content to even dragoon them into applying for all of these cash awards. You then had them go out to the ethics agencies and ethics watchdogs and demand that you be able to get the money.
Wow.
That's right. We've got it in your emails. Your staff and employees on federal time, using federal resources, being paid with federal dollars, are soliciting cash for you, and then they're turning around and saying to the agency, we don't want just an answer, we want to get to yes, because Fauci wants the money.
Wow.
He wants it. We want to get to yes, and yes takes time. This is your chief of staff again, using federal email to pressure the agency's own ethics people so that you could get money.
Wow.
So that you could get rich. And it violated the law, didn't it, Dr. Fauci? Didn't it? It violated the law, didn't it?
Is that a question?
It is a question. You can answer. Go ahead.
On the advice of counsel.
Wow, he didn't even deny it, guys. Holy moly. What do you guys think about Fauci? Comment below. What do you think should happen to him?
So I respect.
And do you think he should even give back some of that money? Because I think he should at least give back half of it, at least.
I decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Federal law, as you very well know, prohibits the solicitation of cash awards or other personal benefits for federal employees. And it certainly prohibits using your own employees to do this. 5 CFR section 2635-205B. It says it right there in black and white. You cannot use federal resources, federal dollars, federal employees, federal offices, federal email, federal time to solicit cash awards. And you did all of it. And the worst part is thousands of people were dying while you were doing it. You were supposed to be the nation's doctor and you were playing one on TV. But this is what you were doing with your time. Isn't that true?
Boom, shakalaka. Look at his face. That face, you can read a lot by his face. What do you guys think that he's thinking? It looks like he's disappointed in himself and he's finally coming to realize, wow, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But he also probably never thought he was ever going to get caught too. So you got to remember that, guys.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, I can see why. I can certainly see why. You know what I can't quite figure out is that why you were so obsessed with it, because you're already rich. I mean, and your scheme worked here. I mean, your net worth now is north of $12 million. You got over $1 million in cash awards during COVID, during a 12-month, 24-month span during COVID. $1 million you knocked down in cash money using federal resources. Now you're worth more than $12 million. You've got a pension that in its first year paid out north of $400,000 a year. 1 million people dead, you're getting rich. 1 million people dead, you're using federal employees to get cash awards for you. 1 million people dead, and you're here taking the fifth because you don't want to admit that what really happened in all that time was a multi-month, multi-year course of self-dealing. Isn't that true, Dr. Fauci?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, well, silence is admission. And here's the real thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just about the money, really, was it? It was really about a power trip. I mean, through all of this, you want to be the most famous scientist in the world. You were so focused on getting every award and every drop of cash that you could, all because you wanted to be on TV. You wanted to be the sun god of science. You wanted to be the guy who was in charge of it all. You wanted to lambaste Trump. You wanted to make sure that nobody else stole your spotlight. You wanted to be the guy. You had time to sit for InStyle magazine. Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for InStyle magazine But you can't answer questions for the American people. You could sit for InStyle magazine, but you're here taking the fifth. You could sit for InStyle magazine and get $1 million in cash awards. But now the cat's got your tongue. I bet he does. I tell you what, here's my conclusion from all of this. This was really all about you the whole time. Somewhere along the way, you lost your way. You may have been a good public servant at one time, I don't know. But I can tell you from reading your emails now, from looking at what you did, how you used your employees, somewhere along the line, it became all about you. You became a narcissist and a megalomaniac and a liar. And you've lied to the American people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime. And I hope you'll go home and write that in your diary.
Oh! Boom! Shakalaka. All right, guys, so we do have a major update. First batch of texts from Fauci's government iPhone have been released, my friends. Bernie Moreno went absolutely nuclear. We're seeing 34,000 texts, but only 3 contacts. Johnson drops Fauci, shocker. So it's getting pretty insane, my friends, with what's coming out with Anthony Fauci. So, you know, I'm very curious to see what the heck is actually going to happen with Fauci here. So let's tune in, guys.
Breaking right now, Republican Senators Ron Johnson and Rand Paul releasing the first batch of text messages from Dr. Anthony Fauci's government iPhone.
34,000 messages is a lot to fillet when we've only had this about 20 minutes or so. We just don't know. So we will continue to look at this, and as we get things that are newsworthy, we will bring them to you.
That's actually crazy, guys. So I want to hear your thoughts down below with Fauci. What do you guys think should happen to him? And what do you guys think about everything coming out right now with Fauci? Comment below. Take a look here. Rand Paul, he says, we have enough evidence to recommend that the Department of Justice now investigate Fauci. This is huge, guys. This just came out yesterday by Rand Paul. Why is nobody talking about this?
Please, an update on Dr. Fauci. We saw him at Dick Cheney's funeral, which I'm sure was a shocker to you, Senator.
He and Rachel Maddow at the Dick Cheney funeral. Who would have ever guessed, you know? No, we have sent requests for the last 6 months to him to get information.
Oh.
He is cooperating. We are looking at phone records and emails. We haven't gotten everything we want, but he's still cooperating. As long as he's cooperating, we're trying to negotiate a time for him to come in for testimony. He hasn't agreed to that. And we're going to see in the next couple of weeks whether he agrees to testify or whether he has to be subpoenaed. Now, people say, why don't you just subpoena him? Because what happens if you subpoena people and they resist, you then go to court and you don't always win, or it's a long, drawn out, years long battle to try to get people to come in. So if we can get him to come in voluntarily, that's what we're hoping for. We do know from our research of what we have done that he has email exchanges between him and Francis Collins where they talk about deleting these messages. Read this message and delete it. That's illegal. That's against the law. If you work in the executive branch, you cannot delete any email concerning government business. So we have that, and that I think is enough to be of concern and enough for the authorities to look into. We have recommended to the Department of Justice they do something about it. Now online you'll see all these, idiot paid influencers who are attacking me saying, oh yeah, you said you'd get Fauci. How come you're not doing anything about Fauci? Well, it's because I'm not a prosecutor.
Oh, that's interesting. So Rand Paul really can't do much about Fauci, from his role as a senator, right?
And I have no power to indict him. I have the power to investigate, and we have been. We've found evidence under Biden.
They did 2 referral letters under Biden
to the Department of Justice, and we received no action. And we've done 1 under the Trump Department of Justice, and we haven't seen any action. That doesn't mean they're not trying. All I can say is I don't have the power, and people have to understand I'm doing the best I can. The investigation continues, but I don't have the power to actually indict anyone because I'm not a prosecutor.
Interesting. So, yeah, I didn't really know that. I thought that as a senator, you could bring something up, but he doesn't really have any power. It has to go through, it seems like, the Department of Justice. So do you think Pam Bondi is going to do much about Fauci? So this is huge. This was a big update. President Trump has ended Fauci's federal security detail. I think this is part of, getting rid of wasteful spending. I guess Trump didn't want the Fed paying for a security detail anymore. I don't know. Let's tune in.
Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you work for government. We took some off other people, too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you work for government. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something would happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money.
So President Trump called out Fauci for his net worth. There's actually some interesting stuff that has come out about Fauci's net worth here.
And it turns out the Fauci household disclosed net worth increased from $7.6 million as of January 2019 to just over $12.6 million in December 2021.
So even if you had all of your money invested in the stock market, which, a lot of you guys are in my Invest Like Trump program, shameless plug, go sign up, Christmas sale ending soon. We only have a few more spots left. We're probably going to have to end it before Christmas even begins. So go take advantage of that. But I've been investing a lot in the stock market. If you're lucky, if after 5 years, your money doubles in the stock market. That's just how it works. It's a slow, conservative growth. This is not get rich quick overnight. This is talking about, hey, you're putting your money into the market and you're allowing it to grow, with the economy. And you're maybe gaining 10, 11, 12, 13% per year, maybe 20% per year on an amazing year. And these are really, really, really good returns. This is how, and it compound interest. But even still, it's like if you have $7 million in stocks, you'd have to be like Nancy Pelosi doing insider trading to get it, almost doubled. But President Trump actually raises a really good point. He's like, he has so much money, he can hire his own security. Like, why should the taxpayers pay for Fauci's security when he has millions of dollars and the average salary in America is like 30 grand or whatever? The minimum wage is like, what, $12 an hour? And you want us to pay for Fauci's security? That's what the liberals want? Give me a break.
Go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all
Trump gave Fauci numbers. He said, here, go hire them yourself. What a legend. Trump is a legend.
Made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
Wow, Trump's such a freaking badass. He's like, no, I wouldn't take responsibility. He has his money. Like, why would you blame me? Like, blame him. And Trump's like, I think he knows something too. Notice the way he's like, he has a lot of money. They all have a lot of money. Like, he's like basically exposing the truth about all these politicians who claim that their service, they just doing this for service, but then it's like, that's why I never understood. Like, you're a service worker or whatever. You're a politician. But you're making what, 120 grand a year? But how are you worth millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars? To the point where, like, you fly around on jets. You can do anything you want. It's so weird, right? but Trump's exposing the truth. And he ended Fauci's security detail. And I have to say, you know, I think it's a good idea. I don't want, like, do you want to pay more taxes so you can fund more people who used to work in the government's current security? I don't. So this is actually crazy. Somebody asked Caroline Leavitt if Trump has plans to arrest Fauci. Take a look, guys. This is crazy.
Insight as to when the Autopen pardons may be validated, and if so, does the president have any plans to ultimately arrest Fauci? This is critical to the United States.
I don't have any information about the pardons, but I have told you and will say again, the White House counsel's office is investigating the potential abuse of the Autopen from the previous administration. This is a really important question to get to the bottom of, and the White House is working with the Department of Justice to do that.
Insight as to when the Autopen pardons may be validated, and if so, does the president have any plans to ultimately arrest Fauci?
I mean, that's a crazy question. Like, Trump, like, what do they think? Trump's gonna arrest Fauci? Like, no, Trump's not gonna do that. Like, it's just like Rand Paul was saying. It's like, it's not like Rand Paul has the ability. I mean, I don't know. He says the DOJ, but I think that's just a ridiculous question. So President Trump actually came out and spoke. This was on Thanksgiving, and he actually talked about some important stuff. So let's take a listen.
But before going any further, I want to make an important announcement, because you remember last year, after a thorough and very rigorous investigation by Pam Bondi and all of the people at Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the White House counsel's office, and the Department of Everything. We have a Department of Everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. Into a terrible situation caused by a man named Sleepy Joe Biden. He used an Autopen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid, as are the pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than, where's Hunter? No, Hunter's was good. That was the one pardon, Pam, that was good, right? The rest of them are all invalid. I don't know what the hell you're going to do about that, but that's, now we're going to take a little of the joking. That is a mess.
So President Trump's joking about the turkeys pardons being invalid, but he's definitely not joking about all of the other ones. Remember, Joe Biden pardoned Dr. Fauci before he left. This was a huge deal, guys. In an extraordinary move, just hours before leaving office on Monday, President Biden said he was issuing pardons to retired General Mark Milley, Anthony Fauci, and members of Congress who served on the January committee. Biden said the preemptive pardons were needed because of threats of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions by the incoming administration. Adam Schiff was one of the ones who asked for a pardon too. California's Adam Schiff gets a last-minute pardon from President Joe Biden. So look at this. Adam Schiff called the pardons unwise. Joe Biden pardoned Adam Schiff, and Senator Adam Schiff says, well, the pardons were unnecessary and unwise. I continue to believe that the grant of pardons to a committee so basically all these pardons, now there's a big question about whether or not, you know, what's going to happen with them. Even Caroline Leavitt came out and spoke about it. Take a listen here.
But first, on the president's post overnight, saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by Autopen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Is on the record.
So that's, I mean, it's still definitely up for debate. However, President Trump, you know, he just came out and talked about it on Thanksgiving Day. And, you know, he's been talking about this a lot.
I do want to continue with our political headlines right here as we take a live look over the White House at this hour, as President Trump says all orders and pardons signed by former President Biden with an Autopen are no longer valid. Trump actually writing that on Truth Social, and I do want to pop this up for you on your screen here so you can read it. He did say any and all documents, proclamations, executive orders, memorandums, or contracts signed by order of the now infamous and unauthorized Autopen within the administration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. are hereby null, void, and of no further force or effect. Anyone receiving pardons, commutations, or any other legal document so signed, please be advised that said document has been fully and completely terminated and is of no legal effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now,
whoa, so he's not messing around now, and we'll have to see what happens with Fauci, because, you know, he was pardoned, right? To 12.6. So anyways, he made 12.6 million, and I know Dr. Fauci, he's a doctor, he's smart. I don't know how much he invests in the stock market. Does Dr. Fauci invest in the stock market? Yeah, I don't know if it has to be public knowledge, because he did invest in the stock market primarily through broadly targeted mutual funds. His investments were part of a household portfolio that included various retirement and trust accounts. Investment accounts. At the end of 2020, Dr. Fauci's investments were valued at approximately $8 million. Wow. So maybe he did just invest a ton? But how did he get $8 million? Dr. Fauci's speaking fee cost. His speaking fees are $50,000 to $100,000 per engagement after his retirement from government service. Why does he get paid so much money? How much money does Fauci get? Does he have any books? Textbook royalties. Oh, he's created textbooks. His role as an editor of the medical textbook Harrison's Principle of Internal Medicine, $100,000 annually. Okay, whatever. Memoir advance. In 2023, it was reported that Fauci signed a deal with Crown Publishing Group, a subsidiary of Penguin Random House, for his memoir, for an estimated to be around $5 million. Holy crap. 5 million freaking bucks? A spokesperson for Crown Publishing, however, called the reported figure inaccurate, but declined to comment further. 2021, a book titled Fauci was published by National Geographic. Fauci did not write this book, did not receive any royalties or earnings from its sales. The proceeds went to the National Geographic Society. That sucks for him. Dr. Fauci's post-retirement wealth sparks calls for transparency. Why is Dr. Fauci, getting so much money? So much money.
And Watchdog says more transparency is needed after they reviewed Dr. Anthony Fauci's financial disclosures post-retirement. Government Watchdog opened the books, says former White House chief medical advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci increased his bank account during his first year of retirement in 2023.
He was the highest paid bureaucrat when he was working for the federal government.
So a lot of these people, you can look up, Mike Pence, these book deals, they make a lot of money kind of using their government knowledge. Mike Pence made more than $7 million since 2022. This dude has not been you know, working for the government since what, I guess they technically left early 2021. Since 2022, he's made $7 million. And this article was written in 2023. So now it's 2025. It's been another 2.5 years. We could estimate, based on this projection, that he's made another $15-20 million from speaking fees, from book deals. He made $3.4 million in speaking fees in about a year. $1.4 million for a book advance. He got $550,000 payment for a speech to Universal Peace Federation in South Korea. I mean, I don't know who in their right mind is going to want to pay Mike Pence $500,000. But, you know, there is a lot of stuff coming out about Fauci, you know, and the amount of money he's been making. And you can kind of like tell when people go into politics without money and then they leave and they have tons of money. It's like, okay, did you get into politics for money or not?
Making $480,000 as his final salary, but he's actually doing even better post-retirement.
Open the books obtained Fauci's financial disclosure, which saw his household earn more than $3.5 million in 2023. That included multiple six-figure deposits, although the documents don't detail the source of those deposits.
How do you make over $3 million in a year? That's what I want to know. And you're retired. As a retiree, you're making millions of dollars. And now he's coming out and doing these like speaking events now. Like, I don't know why the mainstream media is not talking about this. This was 1 month ago. He's coming out and doing these speaking gigs. This is at Harvard.
Very, very difficult times. What one can do about it is, to the extent possible, push back to the White House and walk under that awning of the lower level to get into the West Wing to advise a president or his or her associates about anything. Whisper to yourself, this might be the last time I'm walking into this building, because I might have to tell the president and his or her associates an inconvenient truth that they may not like, and I might not get asked back.
Wow, so it almost seems like Fauci was kind of, you know, ready for something to go down with Trump. Like, he was ready to potentially be fired.
And what do you mean by that? Because the White House is a heady place. And when you go in there, you know, here's where Teddy Roosevelt was, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, and John Kennedy. You get the instinctive feeling it would really be great to get asked back. And there is...
Yeah, look at this. Fauci charging $100,000 for speaking appearances.
Dr. Anthony Fauci is making headlines again after he was criticized online for charging up to $100,000 for speaking engagements. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' Rapid Response Director, Christina Pashaw, tweeted a screenshot from the leading motivational speakers agency, which lists the former NIAID director as a motivational and healthcare keynote speaker.
Wow, Dr. Fauci is now a motivational speaker, guys. So if you want some motivation, tune in to Anthony Fauci's next speaking gig. Get some motivation, guys. Pretty crazy.